I remember last time I was sitting at this desk, like tearing pieces of paper apart because you're just frustrated to not see Warlocks. Now we even see, there we go, WizK going to be on the Warlock. Now we actually see some teams picking up 2 Warlocks. You know, we got Snuts and Chan on the same team. This is the time of the Warlocks, but we can see, even if there aren't Warlocks in the chat, there are a lot of the Move fans. 88% of you think they're going to be able to take it right here.
Yeah, Grayson pushing in very early on, gets the full polymorph on Absurge, and I think the composition the move brought is not going to win. I think Getchur Boy Dog with this comp will be able to ride down WizK, put lots of crowd control on Absurge, and I really don't think the move's going to be able to handle it.
This is a bit of a desperate comp from the move in game number 1. Jellybeans on that balanced druid, and we know him for his hunter play, so let's see how well he fares with this laser chicken here in game number 1. This composition is just a steady state of damage with the burst during incarnation and Dark Soul, that blue icon and purple icon on the left side of your screen for the move. When those threats are activated and glowing, they will be doing a lot more increased damage. At the moment, that initial assault from Getchur Boy Dog did burn a lot of Absurge's mana to recover with a significant lead this early on.
Yeah, you got WizK's Unending Resolve as well. So basically, this matchup is going to be Baby Cakes. He can play center field. He can sit on WizK, do consistent damage for his team. And then when Grayson has damage ready, Flop will push in, set him up, and they can get that crowd control rolling onto Absurge. Absurge landing a preemptive Iron Bark on that bash, nicely done into the full Cyclone. WizK still in a lot of trouble. He has no HOTS. Grayson with the Kleptomania is going to remove all of those heal over time effects, and WizK basically has to keep himself alive with the support of Jellybeans. Incarnation can be used by Jellybeans, trying to counter pressure the best he can, but so far Getchur Boy Dog, they've had complete control of this game, really under no pressure whatsoever, and I really feel like if they can continually do these hit and run strategies, I don't know what the move is going to do.
Well, I mean, it's going to cost so much mana from Absurge. You'll have to use Overgrowth, that spell below his health with 32 seconds left before it's available. That's an expensive ability that reapplies all of your heal over time effects. Grayson has an ability called Spell Steal, and when talented into Kleptomania, steals all heal over time effects in one cast. So every time Absurge has to press Overgrowth, it costs a lot of mana. So Grayson will be looking to use that as frequently as possible to burn Absurge's mana for a late game kill, which you would normally not expect against the Warlock composition. You would expect Absurge to out mana. However, he did find an opportunity to sit down for a drink and regenerate that advantage that Getchur Boy Dog had developed, and now it's basically in their favor. We do see a polymorph, good crowd control, nice shutdown on Jellybeans. It's 3-on-1 towards WizK. How will they respond? They do not want to afford to throw the game this early on. Absurge going to respect that situation and use Gladiator's Medallion to get out of crowd control and save WizK, but he does not have the option to do that for another 2 minutes. So if that same situation can occur again, it will be dangerous for the move.
It's the exact same setup every time. Flop, he waits for bash, Grayson waits for damage. When they have those two things available, Flop pushes in, gets the bash onto Absurge, and both Grayson and Flop cast. If he can get the Ring of Frost, polymorph, great. If not, Flop's there for the Cyclone. During the bash, he gets the Kleptomania on WizK, and that allows Baby Cakes to do significant damage with the Frozen Orb from Grayson, and it's sort of just a rinse and repeat strategy. Outside of that go, you kind of just sit back as the Frost Mage, you build up your Icicles, you build up your procs, you avoid as much damage as possible. Baby Cakes needs to be a little careful, can't tank out there for too long, or just make sure he has a port in an ideal position so he can run away when he needs to.
Crowd control initiated by Getchur Boy Dog here as it's a 3-on-1. Jellybeans needs to try and play protect mode here. He's going to stun Baby Cakes, buy time for WizK to breathe, but Absurge is still locked down in crowd control. However, at this point with Cyclone about to finish, it's unlikely that they can take WizK down. Maybe if they can keep the chain going for a couple more Cyclones. No, instead Flop switches the Cyclone to WizK, denies any incoming healing, making Absurge have a bit of a panic attack as he tries to get his heal over time effects re-established, but ultimately not enough damage to push WizK over. Grayson trying to get polymorphs, Absurge dodging them in bear form, avoiding the Ring of Frost with travel form. Good defense by Absurge with that shape-shifting capability to avoid Grayson's crowd control, and now they are getting counter-pressured. There's a significant mana lead for the move, and finally Jellybeans' damage is starting to get some work done.
Yeah, Flop needs to be careful. I mean, these pushes are great, but Cyclone costs a lot of mana. When you're getting triple Cyclone on Absurge into triple Cyclone on WizK, that starts to add up relatively quickly, and if this game goes on longer, they need to be careful. Maybe they feel like they can close out the game, but WizK, he has the Unending Resolve back, another preemptive Iron Bark from Absurge. Like I said, Getchur Boy Dog, their strategy is very clear, so the move can kind of read that. I think Absurge doing a good job with those preemptive Iron Barks can delay those goes, or at least really limit the amount of damage that Getchur Boy Dog can do.
All right, Flop, you got 50% mana and you're facing a Destruction Warlock. We're not even in dampening. I think at this point, it's obvious that they're going to need to look for drinks and regenerate mana. Flop crosses the map, secures crowd control, counterspell on Jellybeans to deny his ability to protect WizK. But now that counterspell is faded, Jellybeans with the backup, saving WizK here during that dire situation, constantly trying to look for Cyclones. Babycakes denies the follow-up with a paralysis to try and lead the charge with damage, but just simply not enough. Abster's getting caught in Hibernate. Great teamwork between Flop and Grayson, coordinating Polymorph and Hibernate. Absterge has a tough decision. Does he stay in cat form and get Hibernated, or does he come out and get Polymorphed? And with Druid Mage synergy like that, coordinating their casts at the same time, you will just be caught in one of those crowd controls, and that could be devastating later into dampening.
Yep, and as dampening gets higher and higher, it becomes more difficult for Absurge out of these crowd control chains to actually top off WizK. So if they can get the crowd control, get the Kleptomania, and then keep him low before Kleptomania comes back up, that's when Getchur Boy Dog is going to have a big advantage for taking down WizK. That being said, WizK still basically has every defensive left. They haven't really been able to get too much done in these last few goes without the touch of death. They really haven't had as much damage as they need, but Babycakes does have that available. Now a nice swap over onto Flop as he pushes in, gets caught into the bash. Skin was used. WizK looking for some damage, incapacitate on the Jellybeans to slow him down. Now Flop's in a good position to survive and recover, but it looks like Getchur Boy Dog, they're looking for another setup.
Paralysis and Counterspell are typically being used on Jellybeans to interrupt Cyclones, because if they're not, then Jellybeans can completely shut down any sort of push that Getchur Boy Dog decide to do. As we see Flop crossing the map, Jellybeans intercepts with a Solar Beam, but it was actually fake casted by Flop. Nice play. They get the Cyclone. WizK in a bit of danger here as Babycakes is dealing devastating damage. WizK has to trade his powerful defensive cooldown, Unending Resolve, just to stay afloat long enough for Absterge to get out of crowd control. But another setup, they catch a Hibernate on Absterge. Absterge cannot afford to get caught in these crowd control effects as dampening ramps up higher and higher. WizK in desperation to reverse suppression, but they stack up. Critical error from the move, forcing multiple defensive cooldowns within a single push. If this happens again, it is going to be curtains for the move.
Yep, that was Grayson's Icy Veins. That was the touch of death coming from Babycakes at 12% dampening. Now, Getchur Boy Dog, they need to reset. Flop actually sitting down for a drink. Jellybeans needs to stop him. I don't know if he knows where he is, looking for the swipe. The Flop, I think, got a reasonable amount of mana there. Absterge, in the meantime, also wanting to sit down for a drink, recover his mana. Right before dampening comes in, or when the early stages of dampening hit, both healers realize we need mana, and we need lots of it coming up very shortly. So they look for these drinks. Once again, Getchur Boy Dog looking for a setup. He gets double interrupted. Nicely done by Jellybeans and WizK. That's what they need to do, but still, good backup from Flop, lands the full Cyclone on Absterge, and that's what's so difficult. When a Frost Mage and a Resto Druid have good synergy together, you really can't stop their crowd control.
Absterge using Shadow Meld to escape the crowd control chain and prowling across the map. Flop in hot pursuit. Flop and Grayson standing on top of him, double casted crowd control, perfect counterspell timing. This could be devastating for WizK. Jellybeans needs to do something quick, but he can't. He's locked down in Cyclone. Then they switch to Cyclone. 1 second too late. Now Ironbark activated on WizK should be enough for him to at least stay alive during this moment. They're still trying to commit, take him down. Jellybeans backing him up with Cyclones of his own, denying the kill for now. Flop getting Cyclone and actually deciding to trinket a bit aggressively here. The Cyclone WizK at low health. Flop and Grayson are both standing right on top of Absterge to keep going for the chain. They want aggression, aggression, aggression to take down the move. In game number 1, there's nothing left for WizK. His entire team in crowd control. They continue the chain and chomp him down. Getchur Boy Dog taking out the move in game 1, and I really want to see Jellybean switching on to something else. I do not think this composition is just far too passive, and Getchur Boy Dog know exactly what to do.
Yeah, I think that we heard time and time again that Getchur Boy Dog just gets to go about their plan, and we see Absterge constantly lock down Zico.
Yeah, it's really tough for Absterge as well, because he's always going to be forced to kind of go for those heals, and then when he does, he's going to get bashed up. He's going to have 2 people spamming Hibernate, Cyclone, Polymorph, all at the same time. As you can see right here, Flop and Grayson, both of them are able to do this. And actually, the biggest reason as to why they're able to do this is because Absterge, he's positioning too good. He should be out in the middle of the map. That way, WizK can double coil them when they're doing this. Instead, Absterge is constantly getting caught up in these chains behind the pillar, too far away from WizK to be able to do anything to help him most of the time. And I think that's the biggest mistake I really saw from the side of the move. I think Flop, is able as well to maybe play that Feral Affinity to set up even more stuns, because now there's only 1 or 2 stuns, there's 1 stun per minute from that bash.
And see if it works on a close quartered map like Dalaran.
Zico, what would you like to see coming out here on Dollar Inn?
I always gave the move, I always said that I didn't like their compositions when Jellybean originally was in the roster when they were kind of struggling last year. I just want to see Jellybeans play that Survival Hunter, and I can't believe I'm going to say it, but Shadow Priest Hunter, I actually thought they were trolling when they played that last year in Legion, but I think it's one of the best options that they have. They're going to have a lot of comfort that way, and then they can just pair that with Absterge. Instead of playing triple alt, you're going to have one alt, two mains, and those mains happen to be also, in my opinion, at least the best of those classes. I think they have the MS effect, and they also have an easy way to crowd control that Druid later in the dampening.
What?
Close. Jellybean's going to stick on that Moonkin. They're going to bring in WizK on that Shadow Priest, though.
I don't think this is better.
I don't think it's better at all.
Even easier, I think.
It's easier to kill the Shadow Priest than it is to kill the Warlock for Get Your Boy Dog. But at the same time, they have a lot more disruption as well now from WizK. He's going to be able to silence a lot of these setups. If he just throws his silence onto the Druid and then stuns up the Mage with his Psychic Horror, he's going to be able to shut down a lot of these bash double crowd control attempts that we saw Get Your Boy Dog do in the previous game. Still, Jellybeans, he's kind of the goalkeeper, like we mentioned. I don't think he's going to be able to really fulfill that role on that Boomkin. Last series, he really didn't have too much impact. There wasn't too much counter pressure. He tried to stop some of these setups, but it just was not good enough.
Which is the exact opposite of what we expect from Jellybeans, right? I mean, when you see him on pretty much any time he does come into a game, he is able to not only be the goalkeeper, but also set up pressure on his own. Setup goes on his own, and not seeing him enabled by the class that he's on is something that's a little bit concerning for the move here. Also, I think when we do look at Moonkin, originally when this team was setting up their compositions, I believe it was WizK, right, who did pick up the Moonkin. So we're seeing them actively say we need to change everything about the way that our team is set up, and that's a little bit scary. Luckily, it's only the first tournament. It's still early in the year, so this is maybe when we expect to see things like that, Ven?
Well, there's a fine line between playing a whole bunch of different alts against other like if everyone's alting, it's not necessarily as bad, but when you're playing a whole bunch of alts into a team that has basically the perfect meta compositions, they've ironed out all of their strategies, they know what to do against the best players on those respective classes, you kind of get walked all over because you don't have the same amount of reps, the same amount of experience as that team is going to have in those specific matchups.
Get your boy dog. Not words that would come out of your mouth very often before today, and now all of a sudden, all you can say is get your boy dog. Already they were able to 3-0 Method Orange, the reigning champions. Now they're going for second place in the move. They got one lead with their main composition. Will the move be able to figure out something here now that WizK is back on that Shadow Priest?
Balance Druid and Shadow Priest in the past has done devastating damage, but I think in the current build, Restoration Druid, heal over time effects just can completely deal with that spread pressure so easily that I would have liked to see Jellybeans make a change and not WizK. We already see crowd control initiated, and WizK in so much trouble that he has to disperse. The crowd control chain continues. They use Maledict to soak up the dispersion healing. WizK still in danger. It could be an overlap or just a potential kill very early on as WizK ducks for cover down below, but ultimately Void Shifts on barely any health at all, and Get Your Boy Dog completely dismantled the move in the starting stages of this fight.
Yeah, I kind of thought that's how this was going to go. Now Absterge into the full polymorph. WizK, can he get the Master Spell? Does manage to find it there. Nicely done. Absterge out of the CC for a moment, get the Iron Bark onto WizK, but now he's caught into the Cyclone, and really the move is going to have a difficult time getting counter pressure in this matchup. A free casting Moonkin of Jellybeans is not as scary as it once was, especially when you have a Wrestler Druid healing through a lot of that damage over time effects quite easily with the heal over time effects. WizK now looking for a little bit of void, burst, gets into the void form. Flop though doesn't care, he's pushing in, he wants to get the chain going onto Absterge, looking for the full Cyclone, manages to find it. Now WizK, he has to stay alive. He needs to use his interrupt as well as the Psychic Horror to break up some of this crowd control, but the move, they actually have decent pressure on Baby Cakes and Flop.
The good counter engaged by Jellybeans. He waited for Get Your Boy Dog to get aggressive, then activated Incarn and counter-attacked right during that moment and pressured them away during what could have been maybe a potential kill window for Get Your Boy Dog. So Jellybeans' Incarnation timing was great for saving his team. It forced multiple defensive cooldowns. If he can get a couple of Incarnations like that moving forward, especially into Deep Dampening, he will start to net kills for his team, but outside of that, they're just such a non-threat threat with this composition. Solar Beam not very useful against a Restoration Druid because you can shapeshift and avoid the silence combination with the root, which is why I mostly do not like this specialization pick from Jellybeans overall. Baby Cake is finally getting pressured away. We see Flop though jumping into the fight, crowd control initiated, but it ends up breaking and it allows Jellybeans to start to get some crowd control onto Flop and deny any sort of follow-up, but Grayson has secured a Ring of Frost. Looking to get more follow-up, but not able to find it. Double Psychic Scream stalls it out. Absurge gets out and survives. And despite that devastating start to the game, the move have started to even out defensively.
I guess one of the things about Jellybeans on the Moonkin is he can't be caught into the polymorph of Grayson, so maybe he's afraid of just getting cross-crowd controlled too easily on other classes. That's why he's opted to go in the Moonkin, has Moonkin form, and actually can't be polymorphed. And unluckily for Jellybeans, he can still be caught into these Cyclones and the Paralyses. WizK getting a little bit low right now. Caught into the defensive Cyclone on the Shatter of Grayson. Flop dispelling some of those VTs as well. Vampiric Embrace can be used by WizK. He wants to negate some of this damage, help out Absurge, keep him alive so he isn't forced into that dispersion once again. Incapacitate now on Absurge. Is there any follow-up crowd control? Double Cyclone, both Flop and Absurge caught into crowd control. WizK really not taking too much damage.
Yeah, WizK, the Lord of Shadows himself, definitely one of the Shadow Priests to keep your eyes out for, maybe the best in the world even, so his damage is going to be devastating. If there were a Shadow Priest to take down a Restoration Druid, it would likely be WizK. We do see good pressure right now towards Baby Cakes. Flop is starting to struggle and potentially might just flop as Jellybeans is all over him. Flop ducks recover around the corner, manages to catch a regrowth and start to stabilize, looking now to reverse the pressure with a crowd control of his own. WizK in trouble, no cooldowns remain. Absurge is the one that needs to stall this out as long as he can. Cyclone's end, Absurge connects a quick heal and saves WizK just in the nick of time.
Yeah, he held onto the Iron Bark as well, so we can use that before the next crowd control chain. He still has his Trinket as well, so I think those two defensives for Absurge will buy WizK enough time to get that dispersion up once again. Void Shift obviously has a very long cooldown, but it is possible that it comes off cooldown in a matchup like this.
WizK still just getting punished at the moment here by Baby Cakes and Grayson all over him. Flop jumps into the fight, lands a Cyclone. Crowd control looks good, but Jellybeans is left open. He's going to protect WizK with Cyclones. Baby Cake's getting mind controlled away. And the move, once again, they're looking to stall these initiations by Getchur dog, boy dog, and then reverse the counter pressure before they can retreat back to a pillar. And it's constantly stop the attack, counter engage, stop the attack, counter engage. But the move really don't have any opportunities to push forward and knock them over. And if they overextend, they could easily fall. So it's very difficult for the move to navigate to victory. And that's why I feel this composition is disadvantaged. They are finding these windows to go after Flop and actually pulling major defenses from him throughout the fight, and Flop is trying to play as aggressive as he can. That could be an opening for the move to punish. They're definitely trying to find it as often as they can. With Incarnation currently active, Flop needs to be careful.
Yeah, here's the thing about the matchup, though. Getchur Boy Dog, I feel like they can run any moment they need, so the move is going to have to bank off of them playing over-aggressive, making a few mistakes, and really so far they've been doing a good job with the counter pressure onto Flop. Nice triple fear coming in from WizK, setting up his team. Flop could be in some trouble. Cyclone now on Grayson. Manages to get to the pillar. WizK taking most of the damage of the Cyclone onto Absurge. Absurge actually uses Bark Skin in that exchange as well, so maybe potential target for Getchur Boy Dog a little bit later on, but I feel like just sitting on WizK is probably the best strategy they can get.
Baby Cake's getting pressured, and finally Getchur Boy Dog start making mistakes, overlapping defensive cooldowns to stay aggressive. Solar Beam on Flop, interrupting him on a heal, nicely timed by Jellybeans as they burst down Baby Cakes. Baby Cake's going to portal back out of line of sight, catch a couple Vivifies if he can, but he is still quite low, and there's not much defense aside from his Touch of Karma. He would like to hold on. He gets clotheslined by that Psychic Horror on the Flying Serpent Kick. Perfect timing by WizK, holding Baby Cakes out in the open just that little bit longer, so now Flop has to expend even more mana to recover, immediately switching to Grayson. WizK Jellybeans coordinating quite effectively to deal devastating damage, and if we can get into deep dampening with this much pressure, potentially they could pull off a victory.
Yeah, there's no question about it. Bash, full Ring of Frost on Absurge, another setup. WizK is going to have to deflect. He uses the dispersion, but the Maledict Trinket's going to absorb a little bit of that healing. Baby Cakes, he's pushing in. He does have the Touch of Death activated on him. Absurge has to keep him alive. Void Shift's actually back off cooldown for WizK as he looks for a Mass Dispel on Absurge, who helps him out with that Iron Bark, and WizK should have enough damage reduction in this situation to stay alive. A big swap over on the flop once again. Kind of forgot how well the Shadow Priest and the Moonkin synergize. The extra crit for WizK coming in from that Moonkin aura is really going to help him deal out lots of extra damage with that shadowy apparitions.
They've managed to make it to dampening despite that terrible start for the move, and finally Flop's mana is not looking good. The health of his team also slowly recovering, but not looking too good either. Well-timed Solar Beam again, interrupting Flop, going to be putting him behind. Flop decides to just jump into the fight and get aggressive. He just does not seem to care. It's time to make a move on the move. Will they be able to take down WizK in this moment? They need to prevent Void Shift, but they don't have any crowd control for it, so WizK can exchange his health with a teammate to survive this moment, but he doesn't even need to. They stall out the chain. Absterge connects Ironbark and stops the damage. Flop looks to intercept with a Cyclone at low health, though. Flop trying to hard carry the team right now, switching it then back over to Absterge, trying to pull that Void Shift cooldown from WizK, but just not finding enough damage to do it. And because Flop played so aggressive, he's expended a lot of mana. Jellybean sees the opportunity to counter engage, pops that Incarnation immediately, and you can see Get Your Boy Dog immediately retreating away, but getting clotheslined. Too much damage as they're caught in center field. Flop was trying to get a drink to regenerate mana to stay in the fight just a little bit longer. Jellybeans knows he needs to get work done. He's getting in right on top of the opposing team to try and execute a kill, but gets Ring of Peace away, not finding the damage and target that he needs to be able to execute a kill. But as we get deeper and deeper into dampening, opportunities open for both sides.
Yeah, that is true. WizK will no longer be able to survive with these Vampiric Embraces. The heal over time effects become less powerful. Jellybean's off heals aren't as good. And Get Your Boy Dog with their single target damage will be able to push through. WizK now in some trouble, using the Dispersion right away. Doesn't want to mess around as Absterge is caught into the Polymorph. Absterge still has the Trinket and the Ironbark. The move should be able to survive, but with the crowd control chains Get Your Boy Dog has had, they are going to be able to force out a little bit more cooldowns. Ironbark gets used by WizK. They don't want to stay in the open for too long. Baby Cakes now, he actually has his Touch of Karma back available, so he can afford to play a little aggressive. Grayson still has both of his ice blocks, so it's not too risky here. Flop just needs to be careful with all these Cyclones he's putting out. WizK just gets deleted out of the game. Absterge, he had no healing left. He trinketed, but with no Ironbark, there was not enough available. WizK got interrupted, which means no fade, no nothing, and he gets taken down.
Ultimately there, Get Your Boy Dog comes out swinging. It was like the first global we saw WizK having a Void Shift, and ultimately there, he's going to be the target yet again. Zico, how are you liking Get Your Boy Dog? This is one of our first looks at him.
Well, so far we haven't even seen their Shadow Priest Mage as well, which they're very strong on. So Get Your Boy Dog looking very, very strong right now. Looking like they are going to take down the move just 3-0. I'm not sure how many more comps the move can really bring out. They played a lot better offensively, I want to say, last game, but I think the big error was, again, Jellybeans, you gotta stop Flop. You can see Flop's mana bar is about 50% here. Flop was actually out of mana before this because the move actually had such a great offense, but they didn't shut down that drink. Jellybeans just needs to sometimes leave his team to fend for themselves and chase that Druid and make sure that he's putting out a lot of pressure onto Flop while WizK's dots are doing work on the rest of the team. But he wasn't able to do that, and then instead they managed to get mana, they managed to get that nice reset, and they managed to take down WizK at the back of that mistake, getting kicked there in the end.
And Get Your Boy Dog now just one game away from eliminating both of the finalists from BlizzCon last year. We're going to give the players a few seconds here. The move needs to figure out something quickly, or they're going to be going home. Getchur boy dog is about to get this bread. Looking for the hot 3-0. They already got one over the BlizzCon champions. Let's just make it everybody who made it to the finals. I'm excited to see what this team can do, but they only need one more win in this series. We're about to jump into that action. My name is Rich. I'm going to be your host. I'm joined by Zico, Supatees, and Venruki. And I think it comes back to what Ven's been saying the entire time. You look at this squad and say, yeah, they're just playing their mains. And that is something that wins tournaments regardless of meta, Ven.
Yeah, normally it's like...
Oh, there it is.
Oh,
That's
okay,
the
good.
move.
That's the move.
That's good. I was going to say, if you're, it would be the equivalent of someone playing ults into the move playing RPS last season. It's like, it's just not going to work. You know what I mean? They just have too many reps. They know their strategies too well. So I think the move going back to their bread and butter, I think I like it. Kind of, but I just feel like this isn't a great matchup for them.
Mains versus mains, though. I mean, it's clear that trying to play to the meta isn't something that was working for the move in this series. They only have one more game to experiment. You may as well try something that you do know that you're good at.
Honestly, I want to see the move play this comp, but with a Resto Druid. The Shaman is, I'm sorry to say it, but kind of a liability in this matchup. They're not going to go and kill someone with a long CC chain and all-in purges like we've seen them do in the past. And we've seen them also play those long back-and-forth games a lot against Method Orange back in Legion and back in BFA at BlizzCon. I don't think that's something that they can do. The longer the game goes, the more the Druid is going to pull ahead in that mana bar department. I want to see them have a Druid of their own. That way, Absturge, he didn't look too bad on that Druid. He kept them alive for a decent period of time, and he did get some work done. I want to see Absturge stay on that Druid and then just get a little bit carried maybe by Peekaboo and WizK. They're so good on their mains. Rogue Shadow Priest have a lot of disruption. They can still get nice setups onto that Windwalker and find themselves with some win conditions that way. Now, if Getchur boy dog just stalls out the game long enough, they should be able to win that way by pretty much repeating the process that they have been repeating so far.
The only thing I disagree about is I think when you're playing a melee, so for like Peekaboo, it's just so difficult to actually push in and get any sort of damage rolling against a Frost Mage and Resto Druid that can just freeze you up forever. You kind of need the backup of the Resto Shaman for the grounding and the Wind Shear. So I think if the move wants to play aggressive, you kind of need the Shaman, but maybe in a long game, the Resto Druid would be a lot better.
I just don't see how they're going to kill anything before the long game, even with the Shaman, even with the added purges, the added extra uptime. I don't see how they're going to kill before dampening, because these Druids are doing 14, 15,000 HPS, and
seems good.
You're not gonna you're not gonna go through that. I'm sorry, but you're just not. If you add in the fact that you have Touch of Karma and you have all these low cooldown spells, and you know all the peels from the Frost Mage as well, like you already mentioned, I just don't see it ending before the 20-30% dampening mark. So you may as well just make your strategy based off of what happens at that point.
Okay.
Yeah, I do think that it's important to keep in mind the utility, though, as you did mention, even not going for that all-in strategy, but the move going back to comfort, Getchur boy dog. How do they play this? Now they know that the move,
There's two ways. There's one where they just kind of play it passively and wait for the late game, but Getchur boy dog are just going to get their way with them the whole game if they do that. Or they say, okay, we're against the wall. If we lose, we go home. We lose the opportunity at really any significant points, but we're just going to go all out. Both WizK and Absturge can dispel heal over time effects. We're going to nail perfect crowd control chains. We're going to get a kill in the first minute or we lose. And they could go that route if they want to, but they face elimination in this game. So if they make that risky choice, it's going to cost everything, but it may be their only chance.
I feel like the high percentage play may be that, Zico. I feel like maybe we see the move come out and just say, all right, let's pull out the stops. Let's see if we can grab this win.
I agree. I mean, now that they have locked in the Shaman, they're definitely going to have to do what Venruki was already talking about. I just don't think it's the right percentage play. I think even if you're on an alt, you're going to be able to extend the game much longer, and then it's going to be an easier win condition to actually apply in dampening. But now, since they already locked in Absturge on their Shaman, I want to see the move the way we've seen them in the past. Go all in, give Peekaboo the uptime that he needs, and, you know, bring out the pandas if you're asking me.
Hey, look. This is not maybe the pick that you expected, but this is the move. Are they going to be able to extend this series, or is this new team and Getchur boy dog going to be sending one of the best teams from last year out of this tournament?
I think WizK heard Zico because he actually brought out the panda in this match. I think it's strong for RPS. Double leg sweep coming in. Early crowd control for Getchur Boy Dog. A lot of damage onto WizK. He's going to try to tank some of this. Earthen Shield Totem was dropped out by Absurge, preventing a lot of that incoming damage, but still, WizK forced into the Fade. Doesn't want to have to use the Dispersion as well, as Peekaboo's just being crowd controlled so heavily early on.
I mean, this pressure is pretty insane. Absurge trying to recover, running that Chain Heal Azurite trait, combining it with the Aura Mastery Honor Talent. Some new additions to Restore Shaman allowed him to recover without any dangerous threat from Grayson's counter spell, so good recovery. They trade efficiently. Now Peekaboo looking to start a move here with Blind onto Flop. This is typically a scary moment when Blind is activated on the opposing healer. Baby Cakes recognizes that situation and uses Touch of Karma, redirecting the damage to WizK, making it even more difficult for him to restabilize. Touch of Death is about to tick, but Baby Cakes is forced away. Peekaboo with the hard carry on that burst, but they still get Touch of Death or Disperse regardless, which does put WizK in a precarious position. If Absurge is caught in crowd control, it could be a Gladiator's Medallion forced out, which could then open up an opportunity to find a kill later on. And the move are on match point. They make a critical error and stack up for a double leg sweep. Flop sneaks in looking for Cyclones, not able to find it, but Ring of Peace does knock him in line of sight. WizK gets bursted. They drop Smoke Bomb though. Peekaboo looking to carry the team on his back right now. Baby Cakes rolls away, but will he just get finished outright? They're going all out aggression. Flop manages to recover. Good polymorphs by Grayson, deny the purge spam for a couple seconds to allow Baby Cakes to recover.
That was a nice all-in from the move, but Flop just so easily able to recover Baby Cakes' HP. As soon as he gets away out of the Smoke Bomb, he just gets topped off when that crowd control chain ends. They just need a little bit more damage. I think the move can repeat that process, but for Baby Cakes, he is playing Relentless with the human racial, I believe, so he has the every man for himself, has to port away, needs to make sure his port is in a prime position. Touch of Karma coming up in 15 seconds, and when Diffuse Magic and Touch of Karma are off cooldown, I feel like Baby Cakes is going to be completely fine.
Polymorph secured on Absurge, but Baby Cakes is actually the one that's falling behind. WizK and Peekaboo really letting it rip. Multi-target pressure. Flop is struggling. He's actually going aggressive at this moment. He doesn't seem to care about healing. It's time to win. Securing Cyclones on Absurge. WizK dips below half. They want to try and hold on to cooldowns, but those are Maledict trinkets absorbing a lot of healing, and WizK gets cycloned at low health. Getchur Boy Dog are starting to get into the driver's seat here in game number 3. They're on match point. They took out the BlizzCon champions, Method Orange 3-0. They're about to take out the BlizzCon second place runner-ups 3-0. WizK's dispersion has been forced and dominance has been asserted. The move need to do something quick, and it's all on Peekaboo.
Yeah, the move, they've been making a lot of mistakes stacking up for these leg sweeps. That's another reason why WizK just had to disperse. Absurge ran on top of WizK, ran on top of Baby Cakes, and that is not something you want to do. You have to stay spread out. It doesn't have that big of a range. You can easily avoid those double life sweeps. Now WizK in a lot of trouble, has to use the Void Shift, and so he uses his life swap as well as the Trinket Spearling Totem from Absurge. That's a huge overlap from the move. Miscommunication there, kind of panicked when the Maledict Trinket hit WizK. Now you can see the move. None of them have their trinket. No real defensives to work with. Icy Veins is up for Grayson, and they're looking to close out this game.
They have to kill Flop 100-0 through Barkskin. They're going to go for it. They have to kill him here and now. Do they have enough damage to do it? Double Psychic Screen.
No way!
Setup. They have to find it. Flop is starting to fail. Is he going to be able to hang on? He dips low, catches a heal, uses double skins, and survives. That was the only opportunity they had. Peekaboo saw it. He tried to seize it, but it was not enough. And now that mistake earlier on by the move is likely to cost them the series with no defense remaining. The crowd control looks good, and Baby Cakes looks to close. Absurge stalls it out for a couple seconds to connect to Riptide to WizK. They try and go after Flop once again. It's kill Flop or go home at this point, but he's just not going to go down. Flop recovers. Both teams start to stabilize, but that was a close call from both sides.
Yeah, you can see WizK still trying to continue the pressure on Flop. If Peekaboo can get there for a Shadow Step Kidney Shot, they might be able to take him down. Still no Barkskin. Full Polymorph now on Absurge, though. WizK in a little bit of trouble. He just uses a Dispersion, doesn't want to mess around, trying to get out of line of sight of Baby Cakes, of Grayson, slow down some of that CC, but Absurge still caught into the Cyclone. WizK should be fine. Flop having to play a little bit defensive here. Maledict is used on WizK, absorbing a lot of this incoming healing. Smart. Shadow Priests do have off heal, so if they can negate that with the Maledict Trinket while Absurge in crowd control, sort of negates that hybrid healing that WizK has available to him.
Baby Cakes is dipping low. The move have finally started creating some pressure. They actually have a mana lead, and these switches over to Flop are starting to pay off. They're starting to get themselves back into the fight. Later in dampening, they may find kills, but right now they have to make it to that point, and there's not much defense for WizK. He's on the run, ducking around the corner, but Baby Cakes goes all in. Unfortunately, rolling into the wall for a second, trying to reconnect to his target as soon as possible. They've got a couple seconds before the defense is available, 39 to be exact. They have to kill WizK in that window, 36 more seconds, but they're not finding it. There's not not enough damage right now to get it, and Abster's now trying to recover, but caught into a leg sweep. Flop getting swapped to, but this time in bear form. Peekaboo Frost Nova out of range. Good support by Grayson. Now it's time for Get Your Boy Dog to get aggressive. Blind Flop is trying to sit through it, as he has been the target for this match. He would much rather use Glidier's Medallion on a kidney shot to avoid death than a blind. His partners instead trade defensive cooldowns. Ultimately, Flop has to trinket. Baby Cakes actually doesn't have much defense left. If they can keep this going, they get the
Vendetta
scream. Baby Cake's in trouble, and ultimately gonna go down. 1% barely hanging on with Vivify. It is the move have done it. They stay in the tournament.
Baby Cake's gonna get cooked there. Flop refused to flop on a couple of those goes, but the move on their comfort pick going to be able to do it. And that's one of those feels good moments, Sika, where all of a sudden you say, I don't care about your meta. I don't care if you want me to play Resto Druid. We're gonna play what we're good at.
It looked really shaky there a couple of times, but I gotta say, Peekaboo was definitely looking like the man of the year there. He was stopping all kinds of setups. There was one part right after they overlapped the Void Shift and that Trinket Spirit Link. They had a nice crowd control onto Absterge. Peekaboo gets that step kick right in the nick of time there, and he managed to shut down that the Repolymorph and Kidney Shot the Druid. Only reason why they even made it to this part. But I gotta say, even with the aggressive Shaman, it still took about 5% dampening here, and if Flop just gets one global off right there, that Swiftman global that he was about to press there would have negated that situation right there. It would have kept them alive, and they would have been able to actually survive there. And also, of course, he sat that blind a little bit too long. I think there was a couple of mistakes there on the end of the Get Your Boy Dogs, but it's the move. The move they play this comp. This is what we like to see from them, and it paid off.
No, they're kind of sitting there, thrown in the castle right now, just looking down, saying, yeah, we can figure something out here.
Well, I think Get Your Boy Dog locking in the same composition is kind of good for the move. They're comfortable playing against this, and they feel like, okay, well, as long as we keep beating this, we have a chance. We've already beaten them once. And I think that brings a lot of confidence, brings a lot of momentum to the side of the move. With that said, though, I think Get Your Boy Dog's win condition is fairly straightforward. Try to make the same setups onto WizK and live until about the 30% dampening mark. If you live that long, Absterge will be a non-factor on that Resto Shaman. He's going to be out of mana. Flop is going to have a whole bunch of mana still to spend in his arsenal. So that's what I personally want to see. But we'll have to see if Peekaboo can create an opportunity to kill something before then.
Extend it to Game 5 or go home. That is the situation that the move has to navigate through right now.
I mean, they've done it time and time again in the past. They've played these long games against Sea-Doo's team, Method Orange, last year. Now they have to face newcomers, Get Your Boy Dog. But with Peekaboo back in the fight, you can't count the move out. Peekaboo already leading the charge, going after Flop, but Grayson will back Flop up. Good protection there with that Ring of Peace as Flop ducks for cover. Peekaboo's forced off of him as the target, but then walks into a leg sweep. Baby Cakes with great setup here to try and get some early burst damage, but Absterge read that situation as well and had Earthen Wall Totem already down for the attack, but that defense is now faded. Fade is forced to be traded out to immune the pressure, but even that may not be enough. Smoke Bomb gets dropped as Peekaboo tries to make a move here onto Baby Cakes, not catching him entirely off guard and not enough damage to take him down. WizK still taking the brunt of this exchange as Absterge has to open up his school to counterspell. Instead, it's going to activate that Aura Master to immune himself to interrupts and avoid it, not have to deal with it to recover. But now that protection is over, Grayson blinks in. Flop and Grayson have complete control. WizK on the ropes.
Yeah, Baby Cake still charging in with that touch of death, wants to take down WizK. Stopping his positioning with that Ring of Peace, sort of cutting him off from Absterge, but Absterge able to reconnect, groups up on top of WizK. I don't think Baby Cakes has the leg sweep, so not going to be able to go for the triple kidney shot now on Baby Cakes. Kick onto Grayson, nicely done by Peekaboo, trying to slow down this damage now with the Void Eruption, Void Form from WizK. They're going to be able to get some damage rolling, hopefully Flop in a very defensive position though. He's keeping his team alive, realizes he might be a target here with no trinket for another minute.
All right, another switch over to Flop, trying to keep the team of Get Your Boy Dog on their toes and potentially get a kill here. Maledicts are flying in. So much damage as Flop could easily fall. Baby Cakes is going to save the day. Flop ducks around the corner, manages to catch a couple heals and start to restabilize. But if that happens in dampening, you are not surviving a swap like that. You can never count Peekaboo out of the fight. Always looking for these opportunities to sneak in a kill. And Flop has been playing overly aggressive, so it's a great target choice on their part. But right now, WizK is on the ropes with his healer caught in crowd control and unable to heal. He's forced to use a powerful defensive cooldown, but they're cutting through through that even. Now both Peekaboo and WizK are low on health, and Absterge needs to recover 2 members of the team, which is not easy to do at this point with Counterspell available. Absterge instead going to break that up by immuning himself to the effect, chain healing his team back to full health. Good recovery by Absterge.
Yeah, Peekaboo looking for that swap onto Flop once again. No trinket, 7 seconds. Flop playing very defensively. Kidney shot committed onto Baby Cakes, but Peekaboo, he has the Vendetta, and that is such a scary cooldown for Get Your Boy Dog. Pay attention to when Peekaboo uses that, because that is when he's more than likely going to want to get aggressive. Flop doesn't want to trinket out of this blind because of the Vendetta threat. If he trinkets out, then Peekaboo can make a swap with the Vendetta, and unfortunately for the move, Flop just sits that. They weren't able to bait out that cooldown, and now Get Your Boy Dog, they're looking very healthy.
Another kidney shot on Baby Cakes as WizK's going to activate that Void Form, boosting his damage quite a lot as he starts floating through the air. But in the meantime, Absterge got crowd controlled. WizK's trying to fake the interrupts and go for a Master Spell. He fakes them out, gets it. Absterge is free. Baby Cakes tries to continue the chain. Good continuation. Now Touch of Death committed. WizK forced to trade, and despite great defense, it ultimately cracks under the pressure of Baby Cakes and Grayson. In the meantime, Peekaboo going on a solo mission to try and take out Flop, and doesn't even get an exchange of cooldowns on that Vendetta commitment. Now instead going back towards Baby Cakes, trying to find some opportunity there. They do manage to at least pull Touch of Karma. That is a vital defensive for Baby Cakes to survive later on. WizK has created pressure on Grayson as well. Flop needs to recover 2 members. His mana is not looking too good, and the move have momentum.
Yeah, Peekaboo gets the Growth Silence over on the Flop, looking for a kidney shot. If he gets out of bear form, everyone's rotting down from Get Your Boy Dog. Now kidney shot on Baby Cakes. He has no Touch of Karma. Iron Bark and Dampen Harm committed, but the move take him down in a beautiful swap. Nicely done once again.
Oh, now all of a sudden just 1 game away from turning this around, something that the move has done in the past. Zico, how on earth have they managed to get in this position?
They've gotten into the heads of Get Your Boy Dog. Peekaboo is mind gaming Flop so well. Towards the end of that game, we saw Peekaboo. He was just applying the pressure onto Flop. That's the main form of CC they have. Put that Assassination Rogue onto Flop and look at it. He has already applied both of his bleeds to the DPS here, and now he's making Flop think he's going to get kidney shot, but he has that smoke bomb in his back pocket. Baby Cakes should have used his human racial a little bit sooner there, and look at those triple maledicts flying in towards Baby Cakes. There's the second one. Third one is going to take him down as well. Beautiful execution there from the move, and these are the opportunities that they have to find. This is the second time they actually managed to kill Baby Cakes on the back of one of those smoke bomb plays. You love to see it, honestly. You just love to see it.
Yeah.
You thought you were, at the finish line. You've been kind of cruising over the move the first 2 games. It wasn't really too much of a hassle for them to take those games. And now, all of a sudden, you've lost 2 back-to-back. You're going to play the same comp that you just lost those 2 back-to-back with. And you feel like the only difference really that you can do is pick a different map and just fix up some of those individual mistakes, and it really just comes down to those small split-second decisions, and however well Flop can read these mind games coming out of Peekaboo, because so far Peekaboo really has had the number of Flop in both of these last 2 games. He's been playing amazingly.
Well, it does look like Baby Cakes is going to try to make sure he has a little bit of an extra line of defense here, potentially. We're moving in. This game will decide it. Are we going to see Get Your Boy Dog takedown method orange and then take down the move? Or is the move going to be back? Will they be able to get 3 games in a row?
Yeah, whoever wins this is going to be an impressive series indeed. You can see Baby Cakes, he's actually switched back to Diffuse Magic, which I really like because that helps him get those Maledict trinkets off of him in those dire moments, as well as the Fortifying Brew. That's what I wanted to see in game number 2, but now in this final game, he's decided to swap to it. A big setup coming in from the move early on. Iron Bark's going to be used by Flop, as well as his trinket, Fortifying Brew from Baby Cakes, so they're opting to use a lot of damage reduction very early on from the moves.
There's the swap. They're trying to punish the trade by Flop early on. Peekaboo finding multiple pressure points and immediately going for the most vulnerable, leading the charge for his team, trying to allow WizK to develop pressure in other places for him to ping-pong over to. That's the synergy that we know from the move, but Flop does not seem to care. He is going to jump into Absterge's face and look for crowd control, but Absterge is able to escape and stall it out just in time to get some defense set up here for WizK to survive the incoming stun lock, and the move are devastating. Get Your Boy Dog at the moment here as both healers are in crowd control, but Baby Cake seems to be taking the brunt of this exchange as the Maledict's trinkets are flying in, soaking up so much healing. Diffuse magic on, but he walks into a Psychic Scream. Baby Cakes could easily fall. It's match point. He's on the run to stay alive, but the crowd control looks too good. Flop barely connecting that Iron Bark just in time. Fists of Fury with Turbo Fist to parry the incoming attacks that would have otherwise killed him. And now Peekaboo caught overextended, taking quite heavy fire, but still gunning down for the kill.
Look at this offense coming in from the move. They haven't had to use much in terms of defense. Baby Cake's in a lot of trouble, trying to get away, trying to kite, but silence on Flop might be able to close out this game. Baby Cake still just healing himself up with the Vivify. Shadow Step kick coming in from Peekaboo, looking for another stun. Baby Cake lands a leg sweep on Absurge. Turbo Fists of Fury onto Peekaboo, but now into the full kidney shot. Flop should be able to heal him up. He's not in any more crowd control. Resto Druid heals are quite strong, so the move, they need the CC on Flop if they want to close out the game, but WizK's extending the chain with the Quaking Palm. Baby Cake's ports, beautiful port positioning there, but he gets rooted out of line of sight. Flop finally able to reconnect the heals with the Iron Bark, fortifying Brew, and Get Your Boy Dog holds on.
But they overlap. This is just mistake after mistake from Get Your Boy Dog. The momentum just isn't stopping. Peekaboo's got his foot fully down on the gas pedal to take out Get Your Boy Dog. In the meantime, WizK continues the chain, but it doesn't seem to be even shaking Flop as he moves forward. Secures the Cyclone. It's 3-on-1. They've switched their target. They're going after Peekaboo this game. They know he's the playmaker. They want to put pressure on him instead, but that leaves WizK, the Lord of Shadows, free and open to do devastating amounts of damage. How long can Flop deal with that is the question. Can Peekaboo stay alive long enough for WizK to ramp up to that critical mass? Peekaboo's on the run. Touch of Death ticking away as huge damage is about to hit Peekaboo. Flop needs to be ready. Mind Control denies the Touch of Death damage. WizK with stellar play. You can't leave WizK open. You can't leave Peekaboo open. You can't leave anybody open on the move, or they're going to completely dismantle your setup. Now instead, Get Your Boy Dog are going after the Shadow Priest. WizK instead realizing leaving the Lord of Shadows open this long is not a good idea.
Yep, full blind on Flop. He trinkets out, but Vendetta is available for Peekaboo. This might be an opportunity for the move in a little bit, but it looks like they want to commit to Baby Cakes for now. Diffuse Magic gets used by him to get the Maledict off, who removes some of those Shadow Priest damage over time effects. Flop looking for a full Cyclone on Peekaboo. Peekaboo looking to set up on Flop. He wants to continue the damage. Actually trinkets out of the Cyclone, playing aggressive here. Wants to catch Flop in a kidney shot at any moment, but Flop's not falling for it for now. His team is playing very well aggressively. He has the Icy Veins up. A little bit of a swap here over onto Peekaboo. He gets caught into the bash. They make a huge swap on Peekaboo. He overstayed his welcome. Vortex gets used. Kidney shot on Baby Cakes. Peekaboo having to play defensive. Unfortunately, not able to take down Flop. Flop played that very well, making Peekaboo overextend, getting caught into the stun, and that was the perfect move from Get Your Boy Dog.
All right, Baby Cake's trying to get some work done here on Peekaboo with that Fist of Fury flying, but Peekaboo kites away with that sprint. Good timing. Peekaboo pressuring Flop, trying to force him to heal another member of his team and then catch him like this with a kidney shot out of bear form. Peekaboo making the move to try and end the game. Grayson trying to blink back to support, but he's snared up. He can't get in line of sight. Flop will survive regardless. WizK still getting pressured in center field. Peekaboo now getting swapped to. I love these swaps. Constantly catching Peekaboo behind the pillar. He's trying to desperately get back to Absterge's side and catch some heals, but Absterge is out in the open. Grayson's right beside him looking for polymorphs, trying to fake cast the wind shear. Fake cast the wind shear, gets the polymorph. This could be trouble, but Baby Cakes at the same time getting pressured down, forced to use Touch of Karma, but Maledicts are flying in. That's going to soak up all the healing. Baby Cakes is on the run. Both healers in crowd control at this point, but it does appear to be that Baby Cakes is in more danger. WizK looking for Mind Control, gets denied. Baby Cakes now recovering. Flop looking for Cyclone, gets denied. Pressure on both sides. Baby Cakes Fist of Fury, Shadow Step, kidney shot. Perfect play by Peekaboo with a silence coordinated together. Diffuse Magic stalls it out a little bit longer. Now Peekaboo on the back foot.
Yep, Peekaboo could be in some trouble. Baby Cake's rolling over, trying to get the damage rolling on WizK. Flop not in any crowd control, pushing in, gets the Bass on Absurge. Grayson follows it up with the polymorph. WizK could be in some trouble. He uses the Dispersion just to avoid that Touch of Death damage. I think it's a fair trade. Doesn't want to fall behind on HP, basically giving Baby Cakes no value from that Touch of Death. But Absurge still into the cycle, and we are at 1% dampening, but this game is very fast-paced, quickly moving for both teams. Now Peekaboo trying to reconnect. We'll have to see who he decides to open up on. Vendetta's not going to be up for another 40 seconds, but he does have the Vanish, and that Vanish is going to allow him to get a setup for his team. He can get multiple stuns, the Garrote Silence. I have to see how he ends up using it.
All right, Peekaboo moves over to Baby Cakes with silence on Flop's Trinket. This is great awareness here, but they are still falling behind. WizK gets counterspelled. This could just be it for the move. Absurge Spirit Links barely saving the team just in time to stay in the fight a bit longer, but the pressure is starting to mount in favor of Get Your Boy Dog. WizK is struggling just to deal with the brute force that they are dishing out. Flop moves forward. Absurge is caught out in the midfield. Flop is trying to get some crowd control. Peekaboo slows him down a little bit. Absurge needs to avoid Flop at all costs, but they're actually going to punish Flop. He's been chasing him for so long. Peekaboo catches him, tries to burst him down. finding a lot of pressure, but I'm not sure if they have enough to find a kill. Flop starts to recover and ultimately does connect to Absterge to set up Grayson for a polymorph. It's 3-on-1. WizK in a bit of trouble here, looking for Mass Dispels. Catches it just in time. Absterge now out of crowd control and free to heal, alleviating a lot of the pressure, and Flop starting to fall behind. Both teams in trouble here as dampening mounts higher and higher.
Yep, Peekaboo had to use his Cloak of Shadows to come help WizK, but WizK is still in a lot of trouble. Absterge and Peekaboo taken out of the game. Void Shift going to be used by WizK to change his HP with Peekaboo, keeping him alive, so that was nicely done. Absterge still doesn't have his trinket up for another 2 minutes. Good pressure now onto Baby Cakes, uses the touch of Karma as well as the diffuse magic to stay alive. And look, Getchur Boy Dog, they really don't have too many defensives. Baby Cakes is going to be very vulnerable here. Flop really doesn't have too much help. There's a full fear by WizK. WizK could be in some trouble as well. Peekaboo needs to reconnect on Baby Cakes with a kidney shot. No follow-up CC just yet. Kidney shot on Baby Cake. Grayson rotting down. Good pressure for both teams.
All right, at this point, either team could take this game. It's game 5. The loser of this goes home and loses a huge opportunity at big points to qualify for the Spring LAN later this year. They need to stay in it. Will the move be able to do it, or the newcomers Getchur Boy Dog going to be taking them out? Right now, they have the crowd control advantage. WizK needs to start avoiding this incoming pressure. He's going to activate the Vampiric Embrace, and he's going to rotate the pressure instead and get aggressive. A risky move this deep into dampening, but they need to take risks if they're going to get a kill. The longer they wait, though, the more damage he takes. Blind on Floppy, trinkets out to go aggressive, gets a Cyclone. It's 3 versus 1. Absterge recognizes that, trinkets out right away, but it's not going to be enough. WizK could fall. Maledix connects, the healing is reduced, and WizK is barely holding on as Absterge and WizK duck around the corner, but Flops intercepts. He gets a Cyclone. Absterge in a polymorph. He needs a Mass Dispel, but WizK doesn't have it. Fortunately, they do break out of the polymorph, buying a couple seconds, but Fist of Fury is dealing devastating damage, and WizK is still on the ropes. Can Absterge pick him up through this pressure is now the question, Ven.
Yeah, Maledix gets used once again, gets dispelled off. Earthen Shield Totem looking to deflect this incoming damage. Now a silence over on the Flop. Baby Cake's going to be fine with that fortifying elixir, reducing a lot of that incoming damage. Kidney shot, WizK getting low though. Could get taken down. Dispersion is back up. Baby Cakes with the preemptive touch of Karma and fortifying brew going to negate all of that damage. Flop's man is not looking great. It's about even with Absterge, 20% dampening. Both these teams are in trouble. WizK getting low, but with the dispersion, he should be able to stay alive. Void Shift not going to be available throughout the remainder of this match, I believe. I mean, still 3 minutes left on cooldown.
3-on-1, WizK disperses. Spirit Link Totem, but no Gladiator's Medallion. Absterge panicked and used that earlier. Now he cannot combine those cooldowns together, so Absterge has to predict it, but maybe Peekaboo just carries the game, going on a solo mission to kill Flop. Peekaboo's gonna do it, carries the team back in reverse 3-0 and stay in the tournament. That's the move, baby.
Oh man, I like the way they move. That was beautiful. A perfect reverse sweep coming out here, but do need to say, there is a new team in town. Cannot wait to see what Getchur Boy Dog does throughout the entirety of the season. It was not easy for the move at all, Zico.
Yeah, Getchur Boy Dog had a phenomenal performance. I'm a little bit sad we didn't get to see the Shadow Priest come in any of the games. I feel like after you lost the first 2, maybe you could have tried to play the Shadow Priest on that large 12-round map, but we gotta give it up to the move. Once again, Peekaboo just altering between Baby Cakes and Flop and always selecting the perfect target. And here, look at Flop. He's making a big error. Peekaboo was in a Cyclone. Why are you staying in his line of sight after that? You can just safely run away, play a little bit more conservative, make sure that you're topped, make sure that Baby Cakes is topped until his Touch of Karma is back off cooldown, and just play it a little bit more safe. In my opinion, Flop played the matchup way too aggressively. Peekaboo, he made sure to punish that. He got under his skin in that in the first matchup when they played this RPS versus Windwalker Mage. And ever since that first game, Flop kind of was a little bit scared. And then they found those win conditions onto Baby Cakes. And then he just managed to swap between those targets and constantly just outthink Flop with who he was going to go after. So I got to hand it to Peekaboo. He kind of had the team on his back for most of the series.